Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8, read to you by myself, Natilesi Tole, alongside Zamanzi Manze. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. Her Majesty Ndlovukazi has left the country for the Kingdom of Morocco. The Deputy Prime Minister says the government of Eswatini will occasionally take unagreeable decisions to ensure safety for Eswatini and infrastructure. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III has received the SADC Troika Special Envoy at Losita Palace.
His Majesty King Mswati III welcomed the special envoy that has been dispatched to meet with His Majesty by President Cyril Ramaphosa in his capacity as chairperson of the SADC organ on defense, politics and security cooperation. Jeffrey Radebe, who once served as the South African Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, paid a courtesy call to His Majesty the King at Losita Palace. He leads a delegation of other highly influential special envoys, namely the South Africa Deputy Minister in the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Candice Mashego Dlamini, Marupini Ramahopa, who is the Special Advisor to President Ramaphosa on International Relations, and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in Botswana. The delegation held private talks with His Majesty the King, and Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini led cabinet ministers who were also part of the talks alongside the Chief Officer in the King's Office, Chief Mkwakwa Kamete. On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting at Losita Palace.
Her Majesty Ndlovukazi has left the country for the Kingdom of Morocco. The Queen Mother left through the King Mswati III International Airport.
Her Majesty's visit to Morocco is an opportunity for Eswatini and Morocco to strengthen bilateral relations and to unlock new areas of cooperation. Her Majesty departed at King Mswati III International Airport, and she was seen off by Emakhosikati to His Majesty the King, Balondolozi, Their Royal Highnesses Bantu Benkhosi and Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini, who led cabinet. Eswatini and Morocco share some striking similarities. Both countries are kingdoms and they are deeply rooted in culture and tradition. The Kingdom of Morocco is ruled by His Majesty King Mohammed VI, who ascended the throne on 23 July 1999. In June 2020, at a time when Eswatini was pulling all available strings to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, King Mohammed VI donated a consignment of COVID-19 medical supplies and aid to Eswatini. The consignment was brought to the country by a delegation that was commissioned by His Majesty, and it comprised face masks, visors, hygiene caps, medical cords and sanitizers. As Her Majesty the Ndlovukazi embarks on her trip to Morocco, Eswatini and Morocco will engage on a number of issues, kingdom to kingdom. On the news, I am Sandile Makanya reporting at King Mswati III International Airport.
The Deputy Prime Minister Tim Masuku says the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini at times will take decisions that will not sit well with others to ensure safety of every Liswati and the infrastructure. Masuku was speaking during a press meeting held at the Deputy Prime Minister's offices on Thursday following the stopping of a march by the government, which was scheduled for Wednesday this week.
Kepha-ke live lisebenta nge-intelligence ngokuva ukuthi kungahle kwentekeni la, kungahle kube njani njani, ngakho-ke ungasachubeki lowo mshuco noma uchubeke kusho ukuthi-ke lokuthola leto tinhlebo intelligence ithi ngabonakala ukuthi iliqiniso bese hulumende asebenzisa leyo information leyo bese uyakumisa lokho njengaloku ke abe samemetele nathi khomba ukuthi akume lo ngoba kwakunedingo tintfo letatibonakala ukuthi tingahle tidale bungoti noma bese banikiwe lemvume yokuthi bashuqe. Lo mthetho ke uyanika lamaphoyisa ukuthi akumise nangabe sekhona lo sekubonakala. Lokube kuhlungu ke ngokuthi abantu bebeta ngengane noma batshelwa ukuthi cha abeme phela ngeke sibatshele ukuthi sikhanze ukuthi sekunani lele yenta ukuthi kumiwe. Akwentiwa lokho kepha nje kufuneka silalelane. I-internet ibonakala ingahambi kahle kulamalanga nje ngicabanga kusukela itolo yini nalamhla solo kunjalo. Ngithi angichaze ukuthi live limanejwa nge-intelligence. Kusho ukuthi nathi khona into lesetingahambi kahle. Amave lamaningi nyalo nje lencwadi kwafika lekubo 21 nalamakhulu kakhulu nangabe khona ukuthi le internet isetshenziswa kwenta ku-incite violence nekwenyanyekisa ukuthi bantu benyanyane kufuneka uhulumende abavikele bantu kule internet nyalo sewukhanza ukuthi bantu nawuthi ukhuluma langevani nawo labangevani nako bese bathi uhlalaphi sebasuka bonke ke kule internet bangena ke kulama social sites bathi siyathi thina lahlala khona sidamenta ukuthi bantu abasalala emakhaya ngoba nawuthi uvula la uva kuthiwa uhlaselwa ngoba ufuna ukuvala labakushoko noma ufuna kuba njani. Leso simo leso ngiso lele center ukuthi when the social sites have been weaponized kufanele ukuthi uhulumende avikele labo labaphike kutshelwa ukuthi batawubulawa labatawushiselwa phinze basho nokuthi usiyakwadweni uhlala kulawuba siyakwadweni uhlala kuphi kuphi siyeda lapho kuwe akufuneki ke lokho sikubukele phansi ngoba ngikho lokho kwenta bantu bemalungelo abo ahlukumedeke. Ngakho ke lokho kwe-internet kuleqiniso kepha ke siyakubuka abantu nasebaqale ukuthi ake siyekele kwethukana neku-incite violence simemane ukuthi siyoshisa isikolo kuphi simemane ukuthi siyawulutha kuphi. Uyatibona tonke leto ntfo leto ukuthi beba organizana khona la kule social media.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Milane, has announced that municipalities will for a moment stop issuing permits for marches to give the country's economy a chance to perform as expected. The minister was speaking during a press conference held at the ministry's offices in Babane on Thursday.
Speaking during a press conference held at the ministry's offices, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Milane, said to give the country's economy a chance to perform, the ministry has decided to stop municipalities from granting march permits. The minister says the ministry has noted with concern the harassment of bystanders
kuniketa timvume tekushuqa kubalekela lemonakalo lekhona. Siyakhumbula nebekunene kwekuthi umhlaba wonke kungasilo live lodwa lisehlaselwe umkhuhlane lomkhulu i-COVID-19. Kule mishuqo nela bekunene labanengi bakhona ukhanza sikude ama-mask, social distance kude. Hulumende abe ashilo ukuthi umbuthano awube webantu labangaka. Kukhanzakala sithi inombolo dinkulu tiyaphuphu. Laba labashuqako mabacela imvume yekushuqa edolobheni baye baceleke kube sekuba nemhlangano kulawo malanga. Lo mhlangano lo fake ekhathi laba labacelile, lo fake ekhathi laba belidolobha, lo faka ekhathi emaphoyisa. Babonisane ke kumbe ke kushiwo ukuthi nitawugega nganati atitaladi natiya kunganuphazamiseka sive nemabhizinisi. Ukhanze ngosami sekonakala kungasahanjwa ngaleyo ndlela lokusitwe akhanjwe ngato.
The minister says eMaswati are known for their respect, therefore they should not lose that to further restore the country's respectable image. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkal Suekoza with Fuminkosin Sinisa Babane.
The Minister for Information, Communications and Technology, Princess Sikanyiso, says the temporary shutdown on part of social media networks is to curb inciting violence on social media platforms. The minister said this on a press statement on Thursday.
The Minister of Information, Communications and Technology, Princess Sikanyiso, says in the wake of disorder witnessed in the country, largely attributed to the irresponsible use of social media to spread misinformation, promotion of propaganda, and the perpetration of the violence, the Minister of Information, Communications and Technology, acting in accordance with Section 7 of the Eswatini Communications Commission Act of 2013, instructed the Eswatini Communications Commission to temporarily shut down part of the social media network. The minister says the suspension is an intervention to curb furtherance of devastating impact of widespread and deliberate acts to deceive, promote hate speech, and incite violence on social media platforms. The minister further says the advent of social media has impacted the world massively. However, when misused, it has shocking opportunities to advance undesirable acts of criminality such as cyberbullying. The minister says it is regrettably abused by instigators who use it to attack members of society, destabilizing and threatening the fabric of society. The minister then apologized to the inconvenience caused. He says the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has the responsibility to protect citizens and property. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkal Suekoza in Babane.
The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, has announced a management committee that will govern the operations and guidelines of the Reconstruction Fund. The committee is chaired by Tapsile Mlangeni.
The Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, has announced an 11-member committee that will manage the Reconstruction Fund. The committee is chaired by Tapsile Mlangeni from the Ministry of Finance.
The chairperson is Tapsile Mlangeni from the Ministry of Finance. The vice chairperson is Mluleki Dlamini from the Ministry of Commerce. Is the secretary. We also have Zanele Dlamini from Eswatini Bank and Enoch Mavimbela from Eswatini Bank, Lomakosi Dlamini from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning, Ngabisa Nkambule from the Attorney General's Office, Nhlanhla Dlamini from the Construction Industry Council, Futhi Nkambule from the Ministry of Tingundla, Anthony Mtunzi from the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, Vubu from the Ministry of Public Works and Transport.
The chairperson Tapsile Mlangeni promised to work with honesty and diligence, and they will ensure that there will be no mismanagement of the funds.
Emaform abekwe etindzaweni letibonakele ukuthi kuyafinyeleleka kuto. Eswatini Bank inemagatsha etindzaweni letehlukene, ngakho ke lo seshiselwe nakanawutsinga ukuthi agibele tembabana tofunal form Eswatini Bank na Sedco wenebe kabandanyanyana lokwenda ukuthi lo dute na Sedco utawuya ka Sedco ayofunal form mangabe adzinga leli liphepha, otherwise li form litabeli available online. Uyalidownloada online, uyaligcwalisa, so attach ke onke lamaphepha ke ladzingekako.
Members of the public can now apply as soon as possible, including places including Sedco, as well as the website of the NTMA, as well as that of the government of Eswatini. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msebi with Sonto Mlangeni, Ezulwini.
Business people in all Eswatini who were affected by the unrest a couple of months ago can now apply for compensation from the Reconstruction Fund with immediate effect. This was announced by the Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo.
All those who were affected by the unrest a couple of months back and lost businesses, property, private property, amongst other things, can now apply to be reimbursed and benefit from the Reconstruction Fund, which was launched by His Majesty the King. This follows the outline in detail of the regulations and guidelines of the fund by the Minister of Commerce, Mangoba Khumalo, which is with immediate effect.
I am pleased to announce to the public that the businesses that were affected by the unrest can now start applying for assistance. Application forms are available online in the Eswatini government website and the websites for the National Disaster Management Agency, Eswatini Bank, as well as Small Enterprise Development Company, otherwise known as SETCO. Hard copy applications, application forms may be collected at any branch of Eswatini Bank, NDMA and SETCO.
The Managing Director of Eswatini Bank, Nozizwe Mlwela, promised that they will ensure that they work on all the paperwork involved as soon as possible. This is because the fund will be managed at the bank.
We are ready. We have fixed our processes internally to make sure that key in turnaround time for our business people. We will make sure that once we have received the necessary go-ahead from the management committee, allowing us, we don't waste much time. We do our quick assessments also, and then we go ahead and disperse. We do not want the business people to be delayed once an approval has been sought or has been made by the management committee. These guidelines have been developed and approved by Parliament. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kiani Msibu with Sonto Mlangeni at the Royal Villas, Ezulwini.
The Minister for Public Works and Transport implements the cooperation between the affected parties in the issue concerning public transport operation. Ndwandwe assures the nation that things are back to normal.
Transport owners and employees have resolved to go back to business. According to the Minister for Public Works and Transport, Ndlahlaza Ndwandwe, this follows a decision by the relevant affected parties. Ndwandwe apologized to the nation for the scarcity of transport and inconveniences caused following that public transport wasn't available for few days. The minister thanked the affected parties for the decision to go back to work while their grievances were being attended by the relevant ministries.
Sesiyatibona tinqola tikhona emigwaqweni, tikhona nasetiteshini lapho khona kugitshelwa khona. Siyakhuthata ke ukuthi lo moya awuqhubeke ngoba kwanyalo Disembalwa, kepha ke siyathola ukuthi ekukhulumisaneni kwato tonke tinhlangothi letiphathekako cha setiyabuya timotoro emgwaqweni sive sesitawu sitakala ibuyele impilo eMaswatini ibe njengoba beyinjalo ngoba vele lokhu kusithikametile kakhulu sisive kuningi lebe kunga.
National Road Transport Council's chairperson Sihlangu Hlabati retaliates the minister's words in commending the decision that has been taken to go back to work. Hlabati says that relevant stakeholders have been given 14 days to address the grievances. For Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni with Kiani Msibi in Babane.
The Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, says the country is looking to reduce 5% of the economy's emissions. Vilakazi was speaking during a climate change stakeholders meeting held virtually.
The climate change stakeholder meeting will assist the relevant ministries to share information that will be taken to the climate. The Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, says the country's target is to cut 5% of its emission.
What do we hope to get from Glasgow Agreement? There are numbers that we have already seen, which include the enhanced action on adaptation, demonstrated through new finance for adaptation, because the finances have not been flowing. So there is a need to ensure that these negotiations are finalized. There's also what is termed loss and damage to the environment. There is the decision on narrowing the emissions gap with new enhanced 2030 climate targets aligned with the 1.5 degrees global tragedy, and also the fulfilling of the US 100 billion a year climate finance, and also the finalization of the outstanding issues of the Paris rulebook. So we are common. If this can be done, if this can be achieved, we know that we will be able to meet the Paris agreements so that the climate change issues can be resolved. I think.
The IPCC's 2021 report states that the southern part of Africa will experience drought, cyclones and extremely hot other effects. For Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni with Gianni Msibi in Manzini.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Royal Leopards duo Makawe Dlamini and Muzi Dlamini say the players are spending sleepless nights these days as they are thinking of qualifying for the CAF Champions League group stages. The duo believe the confidence within the players gives them assurance that they will be victorious on Saturday in their second leg of the tournament against Sagrada Esperanza from Angola, who defeated them 3-1 in the first leg. The game will be played at the Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini.
Royal Leopard duo Makawe Dlamini and Muzi Dlamini say players have been having sleepless nights thinking of qualifying for the group stages of the CAF Champions League. The two stars believe the motivation to go play in CAF Champions League group stages is what would push the team to win this coming Saturday.
Hey, spirit is high, very good.
According to the two players, everyone is aware of the important game on Saturday when Leopard face Sagrada Esperanza from Angola in their second leg of CAF Champions League preliminary round, having lost the first encounter 3-1. On another note, Team Public Relations Officer Frank Hurube says Sagrada Esperanza was expected in the kingdom by Thursday this week, but failed to arrive due to some technical problems, but will land in the country on Friday this week. Leopard will need a 2-0 victory in order to proceed to the next stage. The game will be at Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Matsapa.
That's all for now. Before you conclude, let's have a look at our top stories. Her Majesty Ndlovu Gazi has left the country for the Kingdom of Morocco. The Deputy Prime Minister says the government of Eswatini will occasionally take unagreeable decisions to ensure safety for Eswatini and infrastructure. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team. Thank you for your company. Good night.